5.4, solving right triangles. When they say solving right triangles, basically what they mean is find all the missing parts. You're going to get some sides and angles. You'll have to find the rest of the sides and angles. Okay, so the first slide is about significant figures. You may remember this from physics class. It's really, I'm not going to make a big deal out of sig figs, but you can see some examples of, 3 sig figs or 4, okay, 2, 4, 2. Basically what they used to do in the old book was however many sig figs you saw in the problem, that's how many you would need to provide in the answer. But now that we have Math Excel, they're going to tell you what to round off to. They'll tell you to round off to 3 or 4 or whatever decimal places. Okay, so down here, you should notice that's 2 sig figs, and that's only 3, and that's 4, and that's 5. Okay, so they're talking about significant figures basically as a clue to what to round to. Again, just do what the problem says to do typically. Number 1 says solve a right triangle. Again, if you're solving a right triangle, you're finding the missing pieces, okay? So I think it helps a lot of the times to draw a picture. Since it is a right triangle, we know there's a right angle. Usually that's going to be angle C. When you draw your triangles, make your angles capital letters and make your sides, oops, not C, I've already got C. Make your sides lowercase letters. What I would do is I would label the things that they give me. They give me angle A is 34 degrees and 30 minutes, okay? Remember, we would want to convert. That's going to end up being 34.5 degrees, okay? We don't have to convert that, but I think it's going to be easier for us if we do 34.5 degrees. And then side C has to be across from angle C, that's 12.7. I would go ahead and label everything that I'm given in the picture. So I've got angle A, I've got side C, and don't forget they gave you a right angle, so we've got this angle as well. I need to find all the other missing parts, okay? So usually what happens is whatever they give you 2 of, it's easiest to find the third. So if you look at your picture, we have 2 angles. It should be pretty easy to find the third angle because we remember something from geometry. We remember that the 3 angles in a triangle always add up to 180. So we should just be able to go 180 minus 90 minus 34.5 to get, what do we get there? 55.5, okay? Want a calculator for this, so get your calculators out. 55.5. So I'm going to write B equals 55.5 degrees, and I'm going to circle it because that's part of my answer. I'm trying to find all of the missing parts. That's one of them. I think it would even probably help to label it in your picture after you find it. Okay? Get rid of that. All right, so I've got all the angles. I need some of the sides. So if you think about it, we are looking for side A, lowercase a, and side B. We have to do one at a time, and this is going to be a SOHCAHTOA problem. Okay, you've got a right triangle. It's not on the XY axis. It's probably going to be SOHCAHTOA. Now, here's a tip. I would try to use the number that they gave to me rather than the 55.5 number that I found. And the reason for this is in case I screwed up. Okay, if I messed up and 55.5 was wrong, or even if I rounded it wrong, if I use that number, everything after that's going to be wrong. So I'm fairly confident that 34.5 is a right number. I'm going to use that one. It's just more likely that my numbers after that will be accurate. Okay, so let's think about this. We can do SOHCAHTOA. If you look at the angle 34.5, I'm looking at opposite and hypotenuse. Okay, I can find angle or side A using sine. So I would say something like sine 34.5 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. Now, get used to cross multiplying. I don't want to have to write this every time, but you have a proportion, you're going to cross multiply. Try and do this, try and do that in your head, I suppose. I really don't want to have to do that, but you should be able to see that A is going to equal 12.7 times sine 34.5. And that's where we would need our calculator. Make sure you're in degrees. 12.7 sine 34.5. And, in this problem, it's 3 significant figures, so they intended for you to round to 3 significant figures, 7.19. What's the unit? Inches. Okay, so now we know this side is 7.19. And now all we need is B, okay? I'm going to do B in green. So I suppose you could use Pythagorean theorem. You've got 2 sides of a right triangle, so that would be an option. All right, that would be an option. I think it's easier to use SOHCAHTOA, though, because if I use this angle, I'm looking at adjacent and hypotenuse. I can just use cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So I would say cosine 34.5 degrees equals adjacent side B over hypotenuse 12.7. Once I cross this up, 12.7 cosine 34.5 degrees. According to the 3 sig figs, it'd be 10.5. A little bit that bothers me. I'd rather round off to 2 decimals every time, but it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you do what the question tells you to do. Round off to whatever it tells you to do. So once we've found all of the missing parts, we are finished. We have solved the triangle.